including other people. I will not forget to mention the name of another lady, and that is Madam Hoha. Madam Hoha owns a hotel called Akbara Hotel. It is in this hotel that Chief Halade Ade Amaka uses for his nefarious activity. So he comes to the hotel and of course arranges for people who involved in his dubious business and is able to execute them. So that place becomes a heaven. I mean, the Akbara Hotel becomes a heaven for the nefarious activities of Chief Halade Ade Amaka. Now remember, the focus is on Chief Halade. And now what has happened? Ochuele now. Ochuele, of course, is his personal secretary. This girl called Aloho has just arrived into town. And the town is JAMB, the capital of Jakarta. And now, she is a graduate and she has no job. She's always been looking for a job. And she comes to visit her friend, Ogeyi. Ogeyi is her friend. She has come to visit her friend in search of a job. Search of a job in a place called JAMB. And she's there. And of course, one day, she runs into her friend, Ochuele. Of course, both Ochuele, Ogeyi, and of course, Alo were students in the university. So they graduated at the same time, went for service at the same time. But now Ochuele has got a job in the Ministry of External Affairs. And now one day, Alo runs into Ochuele. And Ochuele introduced Alo to Chief Ade Amaka. He did not even take any protocol. Alo becomes another secretary to Chief Ade Amaka. Of course, her job immediately was, in less than 2 weeks, she was assigned to take a portfolio to the United States of America. Unknown to her, what was filled in the portfolio she was meant to carry are packets of cocaine. And she was to peddle this in America. And she does not know. Her friend, Ogeyi, advises her against taking that job. But of course, she's in search of a job and she's got one. And she went headlong. And now when she gets to the airport, she is arrested and searched. It is discovered that what she has in the bag are packets of cocaine. And then she's arrested and charged to court. Immediately, as you would expect, Chief Ade Amaka immediately employed the help of Justice Odili and of course the Commissioner of Police. Before long, Alo is freed for want of evidence and she goes home. But of course, somebody decides that this matter must be taken to a finish. Not too long, Alo gets pregnant for Chief Halade Ade Amaka, who has carnal knowledge of the little girl. And of course, she's not going to tell Chief Halade that she's pregnant. She tries to abort the baby, but she does not succeed. She retires to the village, Alo retires to the village, where she eventually has the baby and of course loses her life. She dies. Her friend Ogeyi vows that anybody who is involved in the death of her friend, that is Alo, whether directly or indirectly, will be made to face the music. And then she offers some information to the Assistant Commissioner of Police, Yakubu. That's in the work he is referred to as ACP Yakubu. That is Assistant Commissioner of Police Yakubu. The Assistant Commissioner of Police Yakubu takes up the case from Ogeyi and of course enlists the help of another police officer, Inspector Inako. And the two of them brought charges against Chief Halade Ade Amaka. Yes, Chief Halade Ade Amaka has embezzled 1.2 million naira belonging to the state. And she does that through the help of Ochuele, his personal secretary. And of course, he is charged to court. He is charged to court, and of course, a court of higher jurisdiction other than the one that Justice Odili has hitherto be presiding over takes up the case. And in that court, Chief Ade Amaka is found guilty. He is found guilty of embezzling the fund meant for the welfare of the people of Jakarta. And of course, he is sentenced to 25 years imprisonment with hard labor. What about the lady we have called Madam Hoha, in whose hotel all the nefarious activities of Chief Ade Amaka has been carried out? Yes, she is equally sentenced to prison for 10 years. And of course, as you would guess, with equally hard labor. And of course, both Justice Odili and of course his other accomplice were all sentenced to prison for 20 years each. And of course, other people who of course had a hand in corruption, one way or the other, faced the music. It was a tough music for them. They indeed harvested corruption. And then, how did Alo herself harvest her own fruit of corruption, you would ask? I told you, she dies, giving birth to the child in the village. And of course, that is how she equally harvested her fruit of corruption. And that is it for the plot account of Frank Ogodo's harvest of corruption. Don't worry, before the end of this class, we shall begin to discuss exactly why this title is apt. Harvest of Corruption. Now, the next thing we want to focus on is the theme, or are the themes. We are going to be talking about just two themes. The first is that those who plant corruption must harvest corruption. You don't plant yam as a matter of fact and go harvesting cocoyam, do you? Neither do you plant plantain, for instance, and you go harvesting bananas. Except it's a miracle. But those miracles hardly happen. Now, who are those who planted corruption? Chief Halade Adeyamaka planted corruption. Yes, his job, sleeping with women around in his office, diverting public funds into his personal pocket, and no other nefarious activity. And how did he harvest corruption? He is sentenced to 25 years imprisonment. Don't forget that while he is sentenced to prison, he keeps on, of course, while the case was going on, he keeps on requesting that he is allowed to take medication, that he isn't feeling well. And of course, he did say that the entire society, his entire family and community all depend on him. As if those were enough reason to let go of him. As if those were enough reason to have involved in corruption in the absolute sense of it. And so he pays, he harvests corruption. And so he is sentenced to 25 years imprisonment. The next person who harvests corruption in Frank Ogodo's harvest of corruption is of course Madam Oha. This Madam Oha is corrupt because she is acutely aware of all the midnight bad activities perpetrated by Chief Alade Adeyamaka. She is aware, but she does not report him. In fact, she enjoys the largesse. On one occasion, she says to Chief Adeyamaka that she wants a bottle of Gouda. And Chief Adeyamaka says, you can take as many as you desire and add the bill. Of course, she has tasted corruption. And so little wonder she equally has to be sentenced to 10 years in prison, and of course that becomes for her a harvest of corruption. What about the commissioner for police, who equally bagged 20 years in prison? And of course, Justice Odili, a man who is supposed to be a custodian of the law, but who tramples on the law instead. He too pays for planting corruption. And that is it for that theme. Remember, this theme is a theme that runs very tall in Frank Ogodo's harvest of corruption. The next theme, and very important too, is that the negative effect of graduate unemployment. You would agree with me that if Ochuele, that's the secretary, the first secretary of Chief Halade Adeyamaka, you would agree with me that if she has got a wholesome job, she would not have been involved in the job she is doing for Adeyamaka. Yes, she knows that she is involved in a very bad deal, but she has no option. There is no better job. And so she is hanging out with a bad job until perhaps a good one comes. And that's the effect of graduate unemployment. And now that effect is felt seriously on the part of Alo, of course, one of our major characters in that work. She has been searching for a job for several years after graduation. And so when she stumbled into the job offered to her by Chief Amaka, she did not hesitate. Even though the job was a little suspicious. You are employed today, and in less than 2 weeks, you are scheduled to go to the United States of America. For what? You don't even know. But she embraces the work. Of course, Oge, her friend, always served as a self-control for her. But she would not listen. Why would she listen to the advice to forsake a job that she's been looking for several years? Because of graduate unemployment, she embraces a job she knew was going to head for doom with her eyes open, and she pays for that. That is the negative effect of graduate unemployment. What about Oge herself? She becomes a receptionist in a company called ABC Company. A graduate becoming a receptionist. She had to do so because there was no work for her. Of course, she does so because she